air. And here we go again, hitting the usual suspect of working on my Hungarians. See if we can finish these guys up this morning. You guys, just a recap of last night. Had a little shorter painting session than I would have liked last night, only about an hour. But we were able to finish. Well, actually, we didn't finish. We needed to add some, paint up some of these things on this Jeep. This is another BP cast, extremely rough casting. This is one piece thing. Well, it had separate tires that I put on there, but this is all one piece, and it's pretty rough. Yeah, I could probably go in here with some of this putty and it filled in these little bubbles, but it's not, honestly, it's not worth my time. There's so many other parts of it that are going to look awful. So I got to paint little packs and stuff like that. So I don't think I'm going to get to do that right this moment. I want to work on the Hungarians and see if we can knock them out. But this joined the other Russians as well. So now we have, hopefully at some point, I'm going to spray these guys gloss. And the BA6 armored car. Tilt this a little bit more. There we go. And the BT7 tank. So we've got these guys ready to be sprayed, and then we'll do some weathering. I'm a little disappointed that in all of my decals I went through and I don't have I didn't have any of the stuff that I thought I had, but we'll order it and it'll come in here next week or something like that. We'll move on to something else, but I do want to finish all my Russians before I start hopping around different things. So I think after these, we're going to have to build kits. So we got a half built JSU kit. We're going to have to finish that one out. And so you'll be able to see some modeling here in the afternoon, in the evenings. Because we're going to try to mix that up some. And I got a couple of T-34s also to build. So anyhow, we'll join in. We're going to stay on this Russian green thing going on while we can. So I don't know why I'm doing these, because I don't have any intents on playing this stuff anytime soon. But I've had these things for like 20 years, and honestly, I'm freaking tired of them. And I'm not going to sell them because nobody wants this stuff. I mean, these kits aren't very good. There's better options out there. Okay, what did he have here? Australian Greg, back with a gauze. I'll be able to watch for a while before lights out. Okay, perfect. Yeah, you make sure you tell the commandant you're busy watching things right now and leave you alone. I don't want to get sidetracked and do the little packs, but I do need to do the little packs here before I do the gloss coat. I don't have to do it. I could probably gloss coat without it, but you know, it is what it is. So let's go back to the Hungarians. So where do we leave the Hungarians off? Let's see. This guy's left to do, and we had like the shoes to do on this dude. Let's see if I can get a good picture of this guy. I'm not going to be able to because I can't do it justice, but this is the guy I painted yesterday morning. Let's see if we can get the face on this guy. That's not too bad. If you guys can see what I see on the camera, it's doing it. I mean, it looks great. I'm just saying, you know, justice-wise. This is the guy I was painting yesterday morning. So Chris Brantley chimed in, and I promised I'd do some guy with hair his color. So although I may have gone a little too white, but that's okay. Anyhow, so we're going to finish this guy up, and then we got one guy left, and then all the bowmen are done. And then we will, I don't know what we'll do on the Hungarians next. We got some Saloy to do. We're going to leave the war wagons for last, because they're going to take a while to get through. Your diversion to fighting vehicles has inspired me to build some kits to break up from continually painting figures. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, it's getting stuff done. I actually like the diversion a lot. I was getting kind of tired of painting the same thing, and it's not that I'm tired of painting 15s. It's just that, well, I'm kind of enjoying the vehicles more than the 15s. But the 15s, I know when we're done, I've got a game that we'll play the hell out of. So, anyhow, I'm enjoying painting these vehicles, honestly, because they're. Remember a couple when I was painting my Irish, and I was saying, man, I'm enjoying painting these figures that nobody gives a second look and are kind of crummy looking. It's kind of the same thing with the vehicles. I'm not painting Guns Sanyo or really high quality dragon armored kits. I'm painting stuff that's kind of rough around the edges, and I'm kind of enjoying that a little bit more. So, but yeah, we're gonna do some building. I got all kinds of model glue that I got in. I did end up getting my micro weld, which you could basically, the wife is not going to complain if she walks in here and smells this, because honestly, this smells like you've been eating oranges and you were squeezing the skins. That's kind of what it smells like. It smells like the the orange essence. So I have a feeling I'm going to try the other two glues, but if they're way too stinky, I'm going to return them, and we're just going to go back to this. I picked the other ones up last weekend because I thought I might have wanted to do some model building during the week. I didn't get around to doing that. I've been pretty much staying on the painting thing, but we're probably going to stick to this because this is what I used back in in the early '90s. And you just take a regular paintbrush, of which we us painters have millions, and just use this to apply. And I'm honestly, I'm surprised that it's flammable because it doesn't have much of a smell. Now, with that said, it does, the way these things work, where the way weld cements work, is you run them over plastic, and this is used for on the hard plastic. You run them over the plastic, and it softens it, so it breaks down the plastic. So it's got to be some nasty stuff to break down plastic, but at least it doesn't smell bad. It doesn't really have any fumes or anything. So, we all grew up using model glue, not abusing model glue. That whole generation of, oh, you're just sniffing glue. Maybe in households where there's no liquor. Yeah, if you want to get high, just have a beer. But, we've worked with those fumes in our childhood. Not in our fumes, because it's not like you're doing it in a closet, but I've gotten so used to none of everything I do hobby wise has no smell that I kind of expect that now. So anyhow, that's a microscale MI6. What it is? MI6 weld, micro weld. So we're gonna do a little glue comparison. I'll probably do a video of that. I know other people have done it, but screw those guys. I'll make my own video. But I actually got the stuff before I watched any of those videos. But there's all kinds of model stuff on there. But all right, what do we got left? We got shoes on this guy, right? Let's give this guy some black shoes because I'm lazy. Because I want to move on to the next guy. And some liquid motivation. And no, it's not whiskey. There was a post I woke up this morning that had been going on yesterday. I just saw on one of the Facebook pages I subscribe to talking about what whiskey they would recommend. Somebody who is not a whiskey drinker wanted to. Wow, that's like asking what's your favorite color. You're going to get a million answers. I don't drink very often. I like to talk about drinking, but I don't drink very often. But I will tell you this. When we go over for game night, I much prefer to have whiskey than a beer, because I can drink an entire flask of whiskey over the night and can drive out of there at any point. If I have 3 beers, I'm trashed. So, but I don't have to play. I don't have to drink and play war games. I need to drink at work. Since I can, I can't. Since I cannot, I can. I pretty much can just do fine without having any. I never grew up having alcohol and playing games because I was under 21 in a public environment for lots of my early gaming. So I never associated the two together. And I've always played games that are mentally stimulating. I need to think about what I'm doing. I mean, that's kind of the fun part. And not really compatible with that. And certainly not drinking and painting, because it's not necessarily that my skills would go out the window, but just I wouldn't care. Like, huh, I just painted this guy. He looks like crap. Who cares? Buddy Jeff would come over sometimes. When I lived alone, I have a room that it was the painting room. It was literally like an 11 by 11 room, and he would bring his stuff over, and he would paint. Well, we would paint this stuff. This stuff was painted in the painting room, my 20s, back in the late 90s, and he. Sometimes we'd have a beer, and if we had that second beer, it's over. We weren't going to do any more painting, and that was just fine. We didn't care. So, good times. Just wish we had more of a. I wish the global community existed back then, where we could interact with people like we do now. That's the good parts of the internet. There's lots of bad parts of the internet, but that's one of the good ones. So this guy, we're going to call this guy a done. Okay, and in typical fashion, my guy that's left over is exactly the same pose as him. And this is what we're going to do. So we're going to mix him up. We will make sure that he does not have. We have one that's already open. Let's use a lighter leather for this guy. Oh, I put my paints away yesterday, and I put one that's cocked over. So we need to fix that. I know what color I want to use, just a matter of finding it. Is it this one? This is the one. U.S. Flat Earth. Change of pace helps invigorate my painting. Good morning, one and all. Good morning, Harvey. Guten top of the morning to you. Okay. Busy, busy. I see you guys folks are getting stuff done while I'm getting stuff done, I think. It's not like you guys are listening to me and working out or something. Not that I haven't done stuff like that. I have watched rules reviews or playthroughs while on the elliptical in the past. I have done that. Let's see, I put away my figure brushing paint, my figure painting brushes. There we go. Oh, I tricked myself. They're here. All right. The letters. Right. Still using this turd of cheap brown black paint that's been over here. It's been here since Friday, I think. Maybe Thursday. I normally change this paint palette already, but if we're going to be doing vehicles, I don't want to create a new one just to trash this one. I guess I could have a second paint palette, but I finally got rid of the little rudimentary one that I made. Before I bought this one, I had made one from a Tupperware sandwich dispenser, a container, and a sponge and some parchment paper. The sandwich dispenser is probably one that my family's had since the 1970s and had no use. We've just kind of been having it around, but it doesn't work nearly as good as this. This stays much better. So they make a larger size than this one. The problem with that is that it takes up so much real estate here. So, and they got some fancy name for it, like battalion or squadron or something like that. It has a name that's not related to the size. It's not like it's named large or something like that. It's got some other name, and or maybe I'm thinking of the army painter has something like that. But anyhow, I think this one's working out just fine. I think it's already paid for itself. Or I can just mix a color and just take forever to put it on and not have to worry about it. What I haven't put on the brush drying out on me. So. Land of Nod beckons. You going to bed early. That's good. Means you'll be up early, hopefully. I didn't make it very long last night, but that's okay. I got plenty of painting in yesterday. Painting these things that I've already purchased. I wonder if people are going to be doing more of that as the price of shipping new things comes in, or it depends your level of addiction, I guess. I know that several people that have commented from the UK that the Brexit thing shipping is killing them. Fortunately for you guys, at least in my case, just about everything I want to build comes from the UK. So, but I don't really need new things. So, other than an occasional thing like, hey, I wish I had some decals for these Soviet vehicles. So, I'll get around to getting some. It's not really that much of a priority. I'm not going to let it hold me back. In the past, I would have been like, well, I can't put the stars on this vehicle, so I'd move on to something else. Instead of like, screw it, let's just keep doing all the Soviet vehicles and the decals will show up here when we can. We'll just decal them all at once. Okay, I think that's good for a bottom coat. The dark layer. All right. Land of Nod. I like that. Yeah, that's what's happening. When I wasn't doing the vehicles at night, I just wasn't motivated enough to paint more of this at night, and I was just falling asleep. So, but in my 20s, I go back to painting in my 20s and playing. Several people have asked me what rule sets I use, and one in particular asked me if I was going to run them at conventions. Well, assuming we have another convention, which is, anyone's guess when that would be. I will not be running games at conventions that involve my miniatures. 20 millimeter World War II. It just, you're not going to get through a game. And I don't want to spend an hour and a half explaining the rules to people for the first time that may or may not come back again. So if I'm going to explain these rules and we're going to play them, it's going to be with our local game group who will be able to capitalize on it and play. And you won't have to explain it to them every week. So, but they're pretty straightforward once you realize that your figures can do one action per turn, but it moves very slow, but it builds a really interesting narrative, which is what I want in a World War II game. I'm not interested in doing 1 to 5 scale type games where infantry is just kind of pushed aside and the tanks kind of do all the interesting stuff. I've played those type of games before. They're not what I want. So right now we're just kind of painting, not necessarily have a end goal in sight. And I've got enough figures really to do what I need to do to, if I was going to do like an intro game for people. So, and I think the way to go about it is I will run one side as the GM, so you don't have all these questions about, when you have you're playing a game with two opposing groups of people that are trying to take each other out, and there's a GM and there's fog of war involved. The game is really slowed down by a lot of one of the players wanting to take you aside and talk to you about something in private because he doesn't want the other people knowing. It just so much of the day is tied up by doing that that's I don't think the correct way to go forward. It's just easier to pick some scenario where you you have half of the forces being moved, and I just mean half the forces. I mean the other side is being moved by someone who's not questioning how the game operates. And in that way, the players, if they have a question, they can just ask it freely, you know. So I think that's going to work better. The other thing about a convention game is if you're dealing with people that are off the street, so to speak, you got to worry about your things getting damaged. And I have had that problem before. I've actually had some of my stuff walk off, and not a lot, but I'd rather not worry about that. And the main thing is the time crunch. You know, one of my biggest pet peeves of all time is to be rushed. I detest being rushed about anything at work, and it happens all the time, and there's nothing I can do about it. You know, so yeah, when I'm not getting paid and I'm not at work, I do not want to be rushed. And having to play a game at a convention within a limited amount of time is is not my idea of a good time. So, convention play probably not for me. But with that said, I am enjoying the distraction of painting something a little different. Man, my white's drying up fast. It's getting a little blob out here. I've done all that stuff before. It's not like, well, let's try it because I've never run a game at a convention. I've run a game at a convention and it's been unpleasant. I have played a game at a convention that would take about maybe 11 to 12 hours to play out, but it was only a 4-hour game session. So I was left with only being able to play the first third of the game before we had to call it. It's really unsatisfying. So if I'm going to play a longer game or something that takes longer than 4 hours to resolve, then then I'm just not going to play it in a convention setting. And not everything can be a quick. Not everything deserves to be a quick game. Because you could just say, well, you could just play a set of rules, a World War II rule set that's quicker. No, I'd rather not even play it. So it's all good. We're just painting toys here for the time being. So what we are going to do is, when we get done with this dude, if it's still not spray time, we'll go back and then we'll go and mess with the packs on that gas on our car. But not until then, because I'm not going to start the next batch of figures until these are complete. That'll be my excuse to work on a few more vehicles, right? Let's compare. Yeah, it's a little different. Good, that's what we want. We don't want every single piece, every single doublet these guys are wearing. They're made by the same tailor and they're exactly the same shade. Made from exactly the same hide. I want a little bit of variation. All right, facials next. Oh, it is on this side. Okay. I thought this was a good brush. I'll take that back. This has got one little flyaway. I was mistaken. I was rudely mistaken. But I've tried different methods to get a lot of stuff done. Listening to music, listening to books on tape, talk show, radio shows. That's actually a good one. Except there really aren't any that I care to listen to, but I enjoyed talk radio for a while. Smooth jazz. This works better than anything else I've ever experienced. This talking to yourself to the world. It just keeps me on task a lot better. We got things we need to accomplish, so monologue to the monologue to the masses. I like the talk shows, but I just don't want to hear about politics anymore. So it's hard to find things that maybe we can recover this. Come on, you're a good brush. Come on, dude. Come on, you're a good boy. Yeah, it's still got that other. Well, now it doesn't. Give me a hard time. I'll pull your ass off. Bam, done. This thinner, this airbrush thinner, this is definitely the probably one of the best thing that's happened in 2020 was discovering this, using this as a moistener instead of water. It's some magic stuff. It makes a big difference. Keeps the paint from clumping up on the brush as much. There's a couple of guys that I'd like to watch on YouTube, but the problem is invariably they'll end up doing like unboxings or something like that. It's things that I want to look at the screen, and just by the mere fact of looking at the screen and sitting there and looking at it for 30 seconds, a couple of those happen at a time, and the paint you're doing on the brush is just drying on you. So you need something that you don't have to look at very often, or if you do, you can just glance up for a moment. But I do like watching unboxing videos. They're pretty cool. It's one of the guys in particular, he, I don't know if I'd want to play games with him. Let's put it that way. You listen to somebody and you're like, this guy really knows what he's talking about, and it's really interesting, and he's got a good meter or a monotone voice, but I don't know if I want to listen to him for like 3 hours while I play a game because, you know, I'm used to having a level of fun when I play games. I mean, I take things seriously, but we're here to have a good time. And sometimes some funny crap happens in the game, and sometimes it's not to your advantage, and you still need to laugh about it. And not everybody takes things the same way. As a matter of fact, I think most people don't take things that same way. And yeah, I've kind of gotten used to getting that out of our local guys. So, um, and I know one person in particular that I'd play with at conventions. Not sure if he's listening or not. We're not going to mention any names. He's a little rough around the edges when I first met him. And and I'm not going to tell you who it is, even if you do guess who it is. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. But I think that his group where he used to play before he came to our area didn't have the same attitude we did. And he's kind of realized that I haven't talked to him about it, but I've kind of noticed that he kind of realizes that we're not out to get him. I mean, we are because we're trying to win the game and you're my opponent. So we have to kill you. But the objective isn't to crush the other person, the objective is to have a good time. And it's almost kind of like he kind of gets that now. And I enjoy having him around when he can join us. So at conventions. So, but I could tell that from him. I could tell that he was kind of it was stressing him out sometimes playing games, maybe with some of the other people that he used to play games with. But yeah, we're not all about that. Yes, we want to win, and but we're here to have a good time. If you're not having a good time when you're playing a war game, you're losing, as far as I'm concerned. So, and I mentioned that kind of the exception because just like people at work, if you have several employees and four of them are fine, well, one guy is a pain in the ass. The four guys that are good don't ever make the pain in the ass guy better. It's usually the pain in the ass guy brings everybody down, and everybody else is complaining about stuff that they weren't before this new person showed up. It's almost always the case. So, anyhow, yeah, I like painting flesh. When it turns out well, it really brings the figure to life. And I don't necessarily follow an order that I paint things in. I don't like, well, I do faces first, or I work outside in. I can reach anything on a figure. It's more of a building it to kind of build character, to kind of like, okay, well, I want this face on now because maybe I can bounce between, you know, what he's wearing on his head or his shirt, for color wise. But I don't know. Honestly, I don't put really any thought into it. It just kind of happens. The only steadfast rule I do with that is that make sure you do your priming before you paint all your other colors. Don't like paint your colors on your figure and then prime over them. That's not going to work. Other than that, pretty much everything goes. So I don't love Essex figures. I don't hate them, but I don't love Essex figures. And I think my biggest gripe with Essex figures is that they've been around for so long and you've seen so many of them all the time that you're kind of unimpressed by them. But with that said, sometimes a lot of them have really good faces. They paint up really well, and these guys in particular are one of them. These guys have some really nice facial detail on here. Yeah, yeah, you can't tell. You can't tell. It doesn't do it justice. We'll have to get some close-in pictures of these archers, because really the sculptor did a great job with these faces. Hats off to you, whoever you are. The case of the unknown sculptor. I asked that about a year ago. I said, hey, you guys know who the sculptors are of all these manufacturers? And I posted it in many different places, and I got different answers from different, but I lost the post and I never wrote down who's who, so I'll have to ask again. These guys deserve some credit. They're the reason we're painting these guys. So we have the easy job. Okay, we're going to do a little white sleeve motif on this guy as well. Have that thing going throughout the whole unit. Let's see. Your group has terrific attitude and sense of humor. That banter is part of the enjoyment of watching your game night videos. Well, ever so slightly. Yeah, that's him. He is one of the most positive people I've ever been around. You could punch him in the nuts and he'd still be smiling and laughing about it, so to speak. Mitch has a really good attitude. Me, not so much. I do when I'm playing games, but at work, I'm no fun to be at work. I'm gonna admit. But he's always happy. He's a happy guy, and but he's not as good looking as me, and he doesn't make videos. He doesn't paint, so take that for what it's worth. He's one of the most positive people I've ever been around. So that's uh, that's really nice. That's really really nice. Nothing bugs him. He's been upset a couple of times that I've been around him, not playing games, nothing game related, and it's not pleasant, but it's very far between. My buddy Jeff was also a pretty positive guy all the time. It's a shame that he doesn't live in town because you guys would love him too. He's he'd have a different he has a different way of trying to accomplish things in games, and that's a good thing. I think that we all have our own playing style, and I don't know that we try to change anybody the way that they play. I think that I appreciate that Luke is a lunatic and charges in. Um, I don't know. I don't want to change anybody's playing style. That's kind of cool, you know. It's our individuality. So yeah, we got a good group of guys. We got a good group of guys. So a lot of it is what you bring to it. I mean, you can't. I'm not saying it's my fault, but I'm just saying that you can't be an asshole and then expect everybody to be nice, or you can't break the rules and expect everybody else to play by the rules. I know some other people that are that way, and that doesn't really work. Okay, so you gotta set the example. You know, if you're going to play the rules loose, then you need to expect other people to play the rules loose as well. And I've said this before: we'll get things wrong in a game, but we're all playing by the same rules, so it's still a legitimate game. You know, we don't want to get things wrong, but it's invariable. So I have played games with people that are no fun to be around, and it definitely affects the quality of the game experience, no doubt, no doubt about it. Yeah, I don't want to be around people that I don't want to be around people that have bad attitudes. I don't want to be around. Here we go. Let's start ruffling some feathers. I don't want to be around people that don't take showers. Okay, we're all. How can I say this? Because I hate this word. Nerdy in our own way. I hate the N word. It's okay, but I'm not going to tolerate somebody that doesn't take showers and it can't and has bo. I mean, there's no reason for that. Gaming isn't that important gaming isn't such a inclusive religion that it does not allow you to step outside the bounds of it and go take a shower. Yeah, I'm not going to deal with that stuff. So you go to these game stores and they'll sit there and there's a bunch of kids playing Magic, and you go in there and it smells like a horrible locker room. I'm like, why? I mean, there's no reason for that. So I don't have that problem either. And I don't think I've ever had that problem with a game group that I participated in. You know, yeah. So if any of you are watching, go take a shower. I got to shower every day, man. I have to. Bad breath is another. I don't know that. I don't know that I've encountered that. I don't know that I encounter people with bad breath very often. Is that a thing? You shouldn't smell everyone if you maintain the proper, you know what, from them. I'm not going to use that term. There's it seems more and more. It doesn't take long for me to hear these catchphrases that everybody likes to spin around. I hear them like twice, and it's kind of awkward sounding, and I'm like done hearing them. So I don't use that terminology. But what was the other thing that everybody used? It seems like every year there's three or four phrases that everybody uses. Like you'll hear something in the news or the media will use this one term which is just awkward. And then the next time you hear it and they're all using this term that nobody used a year before. And I'm like, I ain't falling for that crap. Those trendy terms. So, yeah. The whole 2 meters of separation thing. Yeah. I just call it get away from me. Right. I kind of relate it to, say, you watch a really annoying commercial. I don't watch much TV, but even so, you'll see some annoying commercial, which will almost always be here in the United States, will be for an insurance company. These insurance company must rape people for money because all their commercials are long and annoying as hell. So, but anyhow, it's kind of like that. You watched it one time, you don't want to see it again. So, fad phrases. But I can't say that bad breath has been an issue that I have encountered. I just don't get gamers and poor hygiene. I don't get it. Oh well, it's bow time. We cover all kinds of subjects here on Tony Painting Hour. Here in the UK, we have a splendid. I'll correct all your spelling. Hey, I do it too. I'm a spelling, and I don't mean this in a bad way, Nazi. I'm a spelling Nazi. I want to have good spelling, but we type things out and then we're in a rush to send them and that stuff happens. So I get it. That happens to me all the time as well. And it drives me crazy when I do it. Here in the UK, we have a splendid series of adverts for an insurance company featuring Harvey Keitel as Winston Wolfe from Pulp Fiction. It's funny because if you wouldn't have said Winston Wolfe, I would have not known what it was from. Misquoting lines from the film. Okay. I'm not sure. I've seen, I'm not someone to watch movies a second time. I usually watch them once, and unless they're even a movie that I absolutely love, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, which in my opinion is, if somebody said, "What's your favorite movie?" that was probably right off the bat. Probably my favorite movie that I could think of right off that would appeal to everyone, say. But even a movie like that I actually happened to see in the movie theater, which is unusual for me to have to I haven't seen that many movies in the movie theater, but when it came out, I watched it. I've only seen it maybe four times, maybe three. I just don't rewatch stuff. But Pulp Fiction. So I saw it once in a movie theater, and I saw it again maybe 2 years ago. And I'd forgotten the whole thing about Ving Rhames at the end and Bruce Willis and all that stuff. I think that's all part of the same movie. I'm not sure why it's such a popular movie. It's got to be the way that it's the misorder of things. I suspect that that's what the appeal is. And I hate movies that are predictable. And I think that that style of showing things in the wrong order is a way to freshen that up. So I enjoy the misorder of things in that movie. That may have been the first movie or one of the first movies that did that, and maybe that's why it's such regarded in such high regard. But I don't enjoy movies that have a lot of drug stuff in them. I just, I don't really care for that. But that doesn't mean I won't watch it. But I, I'm not. I don't have a big appeal for the whole drug thing. Just seems very alien to me, I should say. So I have zero drug experience. So, as I like to say, alcohol always took me where I needed to go. But I did watch season one of Narcos and kind of enjoyed that. But I'm not sure why that movie's held in such high regard. Probably because of the disorder of things, and I actually like disordered movies for that purpose. So I'm not sure if that was Tarantino's first movie or one of his first. I'm sure it wasn't his first. I'm sure he made something that was small time that nobody heard of, but his first big movie. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And not that I really am a follower directors or writers where I could say, oh, that's so and so's movie or this guy's movie or he wrote the this kind of thing or but I think that was kind of revolutionary from that standpoint of telling it in a misorder. You think Pulp Fiction's attraction is the dialogue, which is often at odds to the bloody action. Okay. Yeah, Tarantino's movies tend to have a lot of extra dialogue just for the sake of having extra dialogue. And that's okay as long as you're not bored. Um, I didn't dislike it. I was just wondering why that was held in such high regard. Speaking of movies out of order, if you guys have never seen a movie called Memento, I highly recommend that. Not that it's the best movie in the world, but if you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about. They went through a lot of effort of filming that movie. There's there's movies that'll come along that will take something that you've seen all the time and just turn it right on its head. And it makes them really unique and fresh in that respect. And that was one of them. The way that movie was filmed. And if you've never seen that movie, the plot line is basically that it's someone who is the main character played by Guy Pearce, is a person who suffered from short-term memory loss, and he's involved in an incident involving a crime incident, and it's told from his point of view. He's the main actor, and he can only basically remember the 10 minutes of a time what happened. So if something happened more than 10 minutes ago, he doesn't remember what happened. So the movie, the way it's filmed is you see the last, if this is the like on your recording, and your movie starts here and it plays all the way and it ends here, you get to see this portion of the movie first. So you get to see the last 10 minutes starting with, say if the movie was an hour long, you get to see from minute 50 to 1 hour. And then when you get to this point, you actually see from 40 to 49. So you'll see this portion of the movie, and then you'll see this portion of the movie, and then you see this portion of the movie, and you see this portion of the movie. And it's all through his point of view. And it's brilliant the way it's done because, first of all, it's not confusing. You would think that you would be confused as hell as the viewer. It is crystal clear and it makes sense. So you really don't know what happened here at the beginning of the movie that ties in to completing it at the end. It's really brilliant the way it's filmed. If you guys haven't seen that, it's a movie that came out, I'm going to say about 1998. And I highly recommend it. And if you have seen it, I got a big chuckle out of the scene in the bar with a beer. So I recommend that. Movie recommendations are weird because everybody has different opinions. I've started to modify my opinions. A lot of the movies have really bad writing. The acting isn't particularly bad unless you're watching something like a B movie or something like that. The acting really isn't an issue. It's an issue of the writing and how it's all tied in together, from my opinion. Now, so what I've started doing is, since all movies could have a potential of having bad writing, then I'm going to watch movies that I enjoy the actors, because the reality is you're stuck with the damn actor the whole movie. So if you don't like a certain actor, then don't watch a movie with them, because you're going to be stuck with them for 2 hours, and you got to deal with whatever it is that you don't like about them. And there's always some actors that some of us don't like, and they may be people that someone else does like. So anyhow, that's just my take on it. But movies are kind of like sandwiches and pizza. Everybody has very particular likes and dislikes about what they like in movies, sandwiches, and pizza. And there's many other things as well, but I'm just saying those things just come off the bat. But yeah, so I'll go like, hey, do you want to watch this movie? I'm like, no, it has so and so, and I don't care for them. I don't want to see them for a long time. Or they have miscast stuff. That's starting to happen now. Like, why did they put that person in that role? I don't know. You got to remember, folks, we want entertainment. We want good entertainment, and it's just a business for them. So some people probably care more than others. Some just want to make a quick buck. So the big question, the big Lebowski, are you a dudist? A dudist? So I didn't see that movie until maybe 6 years ago, ever. And I don't see what the big attraction of the movie is. I don't dislike any of the actors in it. It just kind of was, it kind of didn't go anywhere. I don't know. It just wasn't enough of, I don't know. It just didn't do it. Maybe I watched it too late. I don't know. I didn't hate it, just didn't understand what the big attraction was on it. From what I remember, my favorite part was John Goodman as disgruntled Vietnam veteran that was snap at stuff. So that was uh, that was pretty good. I didn't hate the movie, but I don't understand what the attraction is behind it. Um, I don't know. And I like all those guys. I like Bridges. You're gonna need to watch it again. But I didn't see it until like 6 years ago. So um, it's not that I try to avoid it. I don't want to, I'd rather be doing this than watching a movie. And unfortunately, I can't put the movie on the phone and paint while I'm watching the movie. I wouldn't get any painting done. I would ruin brushes because it would get stuck on the brush. It would dry out. Let's do something a little bit out of order. Let's do his pants. Let's paint this guy's pants, and let's go with see, we did green on that. What do we have? We have green. We have a red. We have another green. We have a blue, and what's this last guy? Another reddish type color. Let's not do red. Let's do a. Let's get crazy. I know what color I want to use. Just gotta find it. Yeah, I don't understand what the deal is with that movie. Well, maybe you can tell me what the big appeal is. And then sometimes you'll see a movie. A lot of it is expectations. If you expect a movie to suck and it's a C, you're like, man, this is awesome because you were expecting it to be garbage, right? But I don't watch a ton of movies. I don't. I did see a movie on Friday night that I've been wanting to see for a long time, and it's an older movie. Well, okay, an older movie from, let's see, I'm going to be 50 this year. So an older movie for me is like in the 80s. So anything in the 90s is still kind of a new movie for me because, the 90s was just the other day, wasn't it? So I like watching action movies, but the problem with action movies is they're so over the top unrealistic to the extreme, almost almost without a doubt. But I actually saw one on Friday night that I thought was pretty good. I'd been wanting to see it for a long time, and it came on. It was on Amazon. So again, it's not that I don't want to pay for a movie, but you don't want to pay for a movie and realize you hate it. And then like, well, I paid for it, so let me watch the whole thing. If it starts to suck, if it's on Amazon or Netflix or Hulu or one of those things that you're already paying a subscription for, you just say the heck with it. I'm not going to spend any more time on this thing. Lebowski is a Marmite film. Love it or hate it. Well said. I don't think I've had Vegemite or Marmite. I have not had both. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't, but it's not something I would buy. Um, love it or hate it. I don't know anybody that's. You reminded me, love it or hate it. I'm going to bring up a movie. Um, I don't know that I know anyone who's hated Lebowski, which is kind of unusual because there's always somebody that really dislikes a movie that I encounter. And I don't think, but I haven't been on the street asking people questions either. So, but I don't. If there's a lot of people that hate, I don't think there's a lot of people that hate that movie. It just kind of just didn't go anywhere for me. Now, I'll tell you a movie that, for whatever reason, all right, I gotta write these things down or I'm gonna forget what I'm talking about. And I'm really enjoying this interaction, by the way. So let me write a couple things down, or this person's gonna forget stuff. So we're gonna talk about okay, and okay, I wrote down three things, so we can cross off those three things. Okay, let me get back to, before I go into the other questions, about the movie I saw Friday night. It was talking about actors that you like or don't like. I happen to like Kurt Russell, so I wanted to see a movie with Kurt Russell in it. So I was searching on Amazon to see, because Amazon has a nice feature where you can enter the person's name and it'll give you everything that they happen to have that has that particular actor in them. So it was a movie called Breakdown, and it came out in '97, I believe, and I've been wanting to see it. And it's the theme is that basically him and his wife are traveling across country through Arizona, and their car breaks down, sort of, and his wife gets sequestered, and it's a payback rescue type of movie, which I'm a big fan of if they're done right. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good, considering many of those type of movies are very way over the top, unrealistic. But anyhow, we watched that on Friday night. But okay, so we're done with that. Let me take my little thing and cross it off here. Okay, movies that people love or hate. So, wow, this makes it sound like it's a long time ago, but I guess it is. About 20 years ago, here in the United States, there was this fad that everybody was talking about, this movie that I watched, and I just did not understand. I didn't get why somebody wouldn't have just walked out of the movie theater. And it was Napoleon Dynamite. Okay, and that's going to lead me into the next thing that I wanted to mention. It is, any movie that I would have walked out of the movie theater. And I think I've only walked out of the movie theater maybe twice. I didn't see it in the movie theater, but I'm like, this isn't funny. And that kind of rolled into my next thing is humor. There's this form of humor now that some of you might like, and I don't care for, is this awkward, uneasy, like a pause, like people just looking at each other dumbfounded. And it's almost, I look at it as just a freaking lazy writer, just like don't know what to say next. But I don't enjoy that type of humor. The people love, and I know it comes from the UK in the original version, that series, The Office. I just don't find it funny at all. Now, I don't find Ricky Gervais funny anyways. So, again, it just appeals to different people. Maybe you do. That's fine. It's just not a humor style that I like. I also tend to not like humor stuff that is you take somebody like Will Ferrell, which everything is just basically self-deprecating, and he's running around in his underwear and has no shame. So I want something a little bit more complex than that. And I don't like this color now, okay? Because now it's starting to look too much like his flesh color. So we're gonna go back, and we're gonna punt, and we're gonna go back. We can work with this color. We're gonna go ahead and put this back, and then we're just gonna lighten up this color right here. But yeah, different kind of comedy, especially comedy. Comedy's all over the place. But I don't like that whole awkward, people just dumb looks. And man, Napoleon Dynamite was a dog. There's few movies that I've seen that have been that, like, you know, damn millennial movie. Oh man. But there's lots of stuff that's the current that people like. I don't really care for. But that's okay. They're not making it for me. But I didn't hate Big Lebowski, so it falls somewhere in the middle. I'd even give it a shot and watch it again. And I'm really bad about quoting movies. I know many people that are really good about remembering quotes, unless the quote is really unique. Um, I don't remember quoted movies. I don't rewatch stuff, so Napoleon Dynamite. Wow. Yep. And the more things we have access to watch, the pickier I've become. I mean, there's so many things on demand that I give something 10 minutes. If after 10 minutes I'm not captivated, I'll just go on to something else. You don't want to commit, an hour to, or a couple hours to something that's no good. Um, you just like The Office, it reminded me of the one place I worked, a boss promoted above the level of competence. Yeah, that probably happens in a lot of places. Um, and then there's some movies that may not be very good for most people, but you find yourself, you watch it with the right person, it ends up being the funniest thing you've ever seen. An example I'm going to give you, which in recent memory, in the last couple of years, I've been wanting to see this movie, and it came out. It's identified as the Peter Principle. Okay. So a movie I'd wanted to see, and I held off on seeing it until it was available. And I'm like, I started watching it. I'm like, okay, stop. You ever had a movie where you started watching it 5 minutes in, you're like, nope, I need to watch this with the right person. And it was this movie called Hardcore Henry. And the whole talking about movies that are filmed from a different point of view. This entire movie is filmed from the standpoint of a first-person shooter, which I've played a lot of during my life. I mean, I'm the generation that grew up with that stuff, playing Wolfenstein 3D and all that kind of stuff. So I watched that movie. I'm like, Mitch has to see this movie. And we laughed. Oh my God. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But then I talked to other people and they absolutely hated the film. But I thought it was brilliant the way they filmed it. And it was hilarious because you get to see in a movie setting stuff that you've been doing your entire life in video games. It was absolutely hilarious. But most people probably will not like that movie. But yeah, filmed entirely from a first person shooting standpoint. Like, you don't even, I don't think in the movie you even get to see what the character that you're looking through looks like. There may be a scene where you like walk in front of a mirror, but it's kind of a unique take on stuff. So we really enjoyed it and we laughed our asses off. So, oh man, I think it's still available on Netflix. Check it out. Check it out with a funny guy if you like that. You'll know after 10 minutes whether you like it or not. There you go. That's how I watch Bill Lebowski. Yeah, I watched it by myself. Sorry. I end up watching most things by myself because unless it's like a superhero, unless it's something I can get the daughter to watch, but the wife and I don't have similar movie tastes at all. I'm more flexible than she is because I'll watch, girly movies as long as I don't really dislike who the actors are. But she won't watch any action thing or anything that's stress causing or thrillers or any of that stuff. None of us watch horror. I honestly don't know why people watch horror. I do not watch horror. I'll watch, stuff that's violent, but nothing that gives me nightmares. Certainly nothing supernatural. I lived alone too many years to be watching freaking horror. So the other thing you're talking about dialogue is I don't hear really well, especially movies. So I watch every single thing with subtitles. So I'm not opposed to foreign movies, movies in other languages, because I have to put the subtitle on anyways. And I'm really good at reading the subtitles. Like I don't even realize that they're on. But I don't know, you just kind of look at it out of the corner of your eye. And if it's something that you can't figure out what it is, just a quick glance will help keep you on track. I watch everything on there, and I tend to watch things that are really complicated about backstabbing and spy stuff, and so they're always really complicated. So it kind of helps to keep things in in check and understand who's on what team and that kind of stuff. So because the sound quality pretty much sucks everywhere except the movie theater. I go to the movie theater, I don't need subtitles. I can understand everyone. But yeah, people's likes about movies are all over the place. All over the place. Many movies will spend too much time developing the story more than telling it. Some will focus too much on the detail, on one detail, and not on something else. And some of it might be, what they edited out of the movie. So some movies everybody likes except you. Sometimes movies nobody likes. I'm sure someone likes them, but you never encounter someone that likes it. You know, you guys know anybody who likes the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who's like that movie at all. So, some movies will start off strong and just die. And you're like, what the hell happened? Some movies will legitimately be, you'll love. And then it gets to the last scene and you're like, you motherfucker. You know, it's like, what happened? That's usually the exception. Usually, 10 minutes in, you'll know whether you're going to like the movie for the most part. But I could think of one example for each of those. Painting Russian dragoons, hence the gaps in my typing. No worries. No worries. This is just a Tony's morning monologue. So, about a year and a half ago, I saw a movie that came on Netflix that the plot looked something that's right down my alley. And it had one actor in particular that I like. And I started watching the movie, and this is like a great movie till about the halfway point. And it turned into something totally different, and it didn't have an ending. So it went from being a great movie to one that I steer people from ever watching and wasting you 2 hours of your life. And for the low price of $5.99, if you PayPal me the money, I'll tell you what the movie is. I'm kidding. I would never do that. That's vicious. Would never do something like that. No, you should never waste your time on this movie. And this movie it had Forrest Whitaker in it, which I like Forrest Whitaker. And no, it was not The Last King of Scotland. Where is my little doodad? Here it is. It tipped over. It's a Netflix movie called This Is How It Ends. And the plot of the movie is it's a disaster movie. I've only seen it once, and I will not see it again. So if I don't get the details exactly right, I'm not going to spoil it to you in case you are a sadist and want to watch it. No opinion. Sadists are, I understand, are people too. But it's basically there's some kind of disaster that they need to travel across the country to go save someone, and the things that you're used to in civilization are knocked out. So you kind of have to survive, so to speak, or maybe deal with people that aren't on the grid or whatever. So it's a good plot from my standpoint. I enjoy things like that. The second half of the movie just totally quits. It turns into a different type of movie, and and it has no ending. It's extremely vague. So Is no ending worse than a bad ending? It's hard to say. Because one movie that I really enjoyed, but it had a bad ending, in my opinion, okay? Because it ended in a way of movies that I don't like. Okay, there's certain kinds of movies that everybody, there's a certain kind of movie that for you personally you may not like. Okay, for me it's alien movies. Okay, I don't like alien movies because I think that they're, complete made up bullshit. Okay, there may be aliens out there. Okay, that's fine, but the fact that they're exactly how you presented them in a movie is ridiculous. Okay, or as I like to say, we don't even know what's at the bottom of our own oceans. Why are we worried about some freaking alien, in some other galaxy? Okay. That's just my philosophy. I'm not a science fiction dude. There are science fiction things I've enjoyed, but for the most part, I am not a science fiction dude. Okay. Anyhow, so a movie that started super strong, liked it almost all the way through, had some great acting in it, was the second, I don't even remember what it's called, the second Cloverfield movie with John Goodman. That's what it reminded me when you were talking about Lebowski. It reminded me of Goodman. That was a great movie until the ending. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you guys can figure that out. I know some people like the ending that I've talked to. I think those people are do not enjoy the same kind of movies I do. But the movie was totally in a B plus A movie all the way up until literally the last scene. And anyhow, um, yeah. But that's just me. I actually know some people that like the ending. I hated it. So there's two examples. Now let's see who I pissed off. Hopefully nobody, man. If you like different kind of movies that I do, by all means, Uh, if you don't mind subtitles, try Last Armored Train, Russian movie set in 1941. I think it's worth a watch. Or we will write it down. It's a World War II movie, though, and I know lots of things. I try to avoid Russian movies because they are more full of propaganda. Last Armored than American movies were in the 50s. They're really, really bad. But that's okay. It's not like I'm going to learn my history from it. That T-34 movie is a awful movie. The action sequences are incredible. That's why I watch it. So if you ever hear me talk about my World War II games, when I do my World War II gaming that's really anal retentive and stuff, that's the kind of action sequences I want to replicate in my World War II gaming. All the slow motion scenes in T-34, that's the kind of stuff that I like in tank to tank combat. So yeah, I'm not using a bunch of vehicles on the side. But anyhow, yeah, propaganda films. Last Armored Train. We'll check it out. Any idea what it's on? I'll look for it. I'll look for it. In the last, it's World War II, yes, and I too am a rivet counter. I'm a tread head. Yes, a rivet counter. I love it. Yeah, good stuff. I'll check it out. So if you recommend it to me and it's this rivet counter, then I'm definitely going to check it out. I appreciate that. So in the last month, you'll come across stuff on Facebook. I don't know if you Facebook or not. I mean, I use it for all the good reasons. I don't get into any of the nasty stuff. I don't want to be virtually nasty to people. I'll be nasty to their face. But they'll usually something will come in, most shocking horror movies or most shocking war movies or something like that. One of them that's always at the top of the list was a movie I'd never seen before, and it's called Come and See or Look and See. It's one of those two. It's a Russian movie set in no, it was set in World War II, but it's filmed, I want to say it's 84 or 85. And it's all in Russian. And I finally got a chance to see it. How did I see it? I think I saw it through YouTube. I found a way to see it through YouTube with subtitles. You need subtitles because it's in Russian. And it was kind of sad that I didn't find it that shocking because I know all that stuff happened. Um, I didn't like the movie because there was lots of scenes that were very surrealistic, almost that you're wondering, did was there like drugs being passed around while you guys were filming this movie? There was a lot of like psychedelic scenes and some of the stuff, but I don't know. I've I like my favorite theater in World War II is the Russian Front, and it's absolutely brutal. I mean, it's absolutely brutal. I'm not sure if the Pacific would have been worse. I really am kind of a noob when it comes to the Pacific. It never really attracted me that much, but the Russian Front is it's a war of extermination, and finally got a chance to see that. So I remember as a kid, one of the most shocking things I ever saw. Of course, I was like 17 at the time. Was when they put that miniseries War of Remembrance, and they had that scene at the concentration camp with the bodies, and you're seeing that in color, and it was pretty shocking. It was really, really shocking at the time. I remember, and that was on TV, and yeah, different things affect you at different times depending on what you see them. I remember the first horror movie I saw as a kid. I was like 10 years old, and I was at somebody's house, and they put the original Halloween on. And man, I was scarred for. I couldn't go to sleep that night. I see stuff like that now. I'd be like, eh. But you're a kid. So that stuff affects you more. I guess it's the movie thing this morning. If you guys like movies and you're not tuning in, well, you're screwed because you could have had some good commentary, or I could have pissed you off with my thoughts. I don't understand why people get upset about movies. It's not like any of you guys are related to the movie director in a movie. It's like people that get pissed off about sports. Like, dude, you don't even know any of the players. I live in a college football town, mainly football, and people are just belligerent about stuff. And it's like, I don't get it, man. You don't know any of the players or anything. So you need to lighten up. Lighten up, man. Far out. All right, let's see what interesting commentary. Yes, Seen Come and See, supposed to be based on the Wagner Brigade. Brutal scenes. Yeah, Einsatzgruppen. Yeah, and it was really weird that sometimes you'll see a movie and because it's filmed or written in a certain way, you kind of it seems very un hard to connect to, hard to believe. I can believe all the brutality. I just can't believe if you've seen the movie. So there's the scene where the guys after end up trashing the village, and I don't want to give the movie away, but it's anti-partisan action, retribution action. They trash the village and everything. They're like hopping on trucks like they're at a bachelor party, and that's a little bit too over the top. Now I don't doubt that those sick bastards got a thrill out of doing stuff like that, but I don't know that they would have it would have gone to the extreme where they almost got left by the truck driving away and they're trying to hop on and just I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed a little out of place. So anywho, Einsatzgruppen, not exactly choir boys, but it was a war of extermination. So when you put it in that respect, I don't know. bad guy versus bad guys. You know, as we used to say way back when we did a lot of World War II gaming, all they had to do was be seen as liberators, and they could have, you know, won over there. But it's a good thing they didn't. So that's all in retrospect. But you know, when you view it that it's basically a war of extermination, yeah, you can't really be nice to people if the whole objective is to, you know, wipe them out. You know, horror. I'm still scared by Doctor Who from 1963. So as a kid, I never watched Doctor Who, but as a kid, you know, we didn't have all the channel choices that we do now. And I was probably 9 or 10 years old, and they had at that time, I'm not even sure if that was the current season, but on the PBS station, which is where you would watch Doctor Who, that was when Tom Baker was. They were showing those episodes, and there was the whoever the leader of the Daleks is. So they got some guy that's has like a face, but he looks undead. That guy would scare the shit out of me. And I forget what his name is, Mobius or some. He's got some kind of Latinized type name or whatever. That when that guy came on, it scared the crap out of me. And I don't know why. It wasn't a horror movie. It was just something about the look of that bastard. You know. And I don't know what the plot of Doctor Who is or anything else. I was just kind of flipping things, and you'll see something and it'll be like really spooky. I still think that I've never seen the movie, but when I'm always looking for things to watch, I'll come across the the cover of the movie Donnie Darko, and I've never seen the movie, and I understand it's not a horror movie, but when I see that freaking mask or that freaking demonic bunny rabbit, I don't do demonic masks. Okay, this guy doesn't do it. So, Harvey, I know you've got some kind of German lineage or whatever, but you won't see me in Germany at one of those places where they have that Krampus fest that they do. Yeah, I'd be taking every one of those guys out with a hatchet. I don't do demonic stuff, and that's that's some evil shit. You couldn't do that in the United States because those jokers would get shot. But yeah, I don't do demonic mass. That's my line in the sand. So yeah, Doctor Who. That's you reminded me of whatever that dude is. He's in a he's in a freaking wheelchair. I don't think he even like he talked whatever, but his lips didn't move or something like that. I don't know, but that really I didn't like that as a kid. Like I don't like that guy. We should do these videos where Mitch and I talk about shit like that. I think it might be interesting. Maybe not. I certainly have opinions about stuff. I've seen enough different things. I've gamed enough different stuff. I've done a lot of World War II gaming. It's interesting not really reading about anything World War II for 20 years and coming back to it now with all the Russian archives that have been opened, and especially being a big Eastern Front fan, and then watching some things I've seen on YouTube, and it kind of changes your perspective on a couple things. And I'm willing to It's not like my opinions are set in stone and that's how they're going to be. But it's kind of interesting, the whole thing where when I grew up, there was really not a whole lot from the Russian point of view, and you kind of had to take the German memoirs with a grain of salt because, we were technically at war with the Russians. So you only see things from one standpoint, and maybe that stuff that we read about was really skewed, and we didn't realize it at the time. So it's interesting going back to it and then getting exposed to it again, and there's new information, and I'm wondering how long that's going to keep going on for, because I don't think that we're going to make some discovery in the next 50 years that's going to turn change how we think about the Roman Empire. I think that a lot of these things, there's just not more information available. And if it does become available, it's going to be over a long period of time. But something that happened, 70 years ago, yeah, there's different there's different things that you could come across, and it's kind of interesting going back and looking at that standpoint. So Davros, that's that. See, told you it was a Latinized. That's Greek. So, have you read Kharkov, Anatomy of a Soviet Disaster by David Glantz? Excellent, highly recommended. I've met him. I've met him a couple times. Um, he doesn't seem like somebody I'd want to play a war game with. He knows his shit, and I've got his Stalingrad book on Audible on my wish list, and yeah, when we war gamed, his access to that stuff didn't exist. So no, I have not read it. I'm gonna. It's. I'm to the point where I'm not going to be able to read books like that anymore because I can't have them in the background while I'm driving if it's not available on Audible. And only his Stalingrad one is. So I will check that out. And I also have a bunch of ones I have ones by an author called. He has a weird name. I'm sure he's German, but he has lots of things from Barbarossa and then Kiev and the stuff in 42 and 43. Butar, I think his last name is. I'm reading one of his World War One books right now. But yeah, there's some stuff on there that the problem with all that stuff is I want to read it with a map in front of me. Not because I'm confused, but I want to get the full picture. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to revisiting because it just seemed like when we were wargaming, in the 80s, we didn't have access to all that stuff. So, but, I'm willing to change my opinions on things like that, you know. I mean, when I grew up gaming and we did like Russian front stuff, I can't speak for everybody, but I find the German position more relatable. This is as a kid, and and that's probably skewed by all the memoirs that we only had from one side. And you visualize, you're doing World War II gaming. I mean, the Germans are the bad guys. When they get on the Eastern Front, maybe the Russians are worse. This is as a kid, and now it's kind of like, well, let me revisit all this stuff again. I mean, they're both bad, but you know, it's interesting. I mean, so there's just so much information on there now that that's kind of my appeal of going back to doing this kind of stuff. And And then, of course, now you've got the whole, now things are just on their head anymore. Now, like, oh, well, you're putting swastikas on a vehicle. You're a Nazi. Come on, man. Nobody likes the freaking Nazis. I remember back then I went through all my decal sets, okay? I used to do like 1/35th scale stuff and some planes and stuff. And I always keep everything. I always keep extra decals I didn't use. And I had these decal sets that I had gotten from some kit that came from, I don't remember where the kit, it was somewhere in Europe. And it was a model of a DO-17. I want to say it's a C. It was a very slender one. It's a really sleek looking plane. And it was one that they used in the Spanish Civil War. It's not the Z version that everybody's used to, that used in Battle of Britain. It was the earlier one. And it came with like Spanish Civil War markings for the nationalists, and it had some swastikas, and it was split. The swastika decal is in two pieces. And I was going through them and I thought, I'm glad I didn't do this unboxing on YouTube because I could get banned. I guess. I mean, I guess there's a problem with showing that stuff on YouTube. I never gave it a second thought. I'm certainly not promoting a. I'm anti-totalitarian societies to begin with, and especially one that has, the record of the proven record of the horror that they did. I mean, it's like that's not what I'm here promoting, but somebody could casually see that, you know, be some kind of white supremacist web show or something like that. But I'm like, that's like the current thing now. When I grew up, it's like if you put swastikas on a model, you weren't some white supremacist. I mean, it just didn't exist. I don't know. Everything's on its head these days, I tell you. 30 years ago, the Soviets were still seen as the bad guys. 30 years ago, what is that, 1990? Yes, when we were doing all the gaming. I would think that the Germans were less bad than the Russians at that time. I'm not so sure now. I mean, I'd say that they were equally bad. It depends who you are. I think if you were, it seems to me that if you were a soldier fighting on the side, I don't know. It just that's why it's not clear cut. That's why I find it fascinating. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be part of either one of those two. There's too much government in this country, much less than what those other countries had. It goes against my libertarian sensibilities to live in those places. Big fan of leaving people alone. So, but that's maybe why I don't like horror movies, because my horror movie is reading about war, which is horrible. We're just fascinated about the tactics and all that kind of stuff, painting the things, but I don't want to be in a fucking war. That's, you know, oh, you play war games, you're a warmonger. No, we're not. We're not. It's just fascinating. I'll put a disclaimer. Anything that's voiced on here, Tony does not promote, well, it's the whole, it's the whole the internet thing, How does it go? If you say one thing's bad, my favorite my favorite fruit is oranges. And then somebody says, "What do you got against apples?" No, just because I don't mention something else doesn't mean I'm a fan of it. So I like to say communists are not people. Well, Nazis aren't either. So it's not that I'm saying that the other guys are any better. My dad, left Cuba in 1960. So if you expect a kind word about communism from me, you're not going to get it. Now, the upshot of it is I was born in this country and not a different one. So that was the one good upshot for me. But you won't hear me say anything nice about communists. Doesn't mean I like the other side. They're rat bastards too. I got a book on the Spanish Civil War that's also on my Audible to read list, so that might be interesting as well. I've got general information, but I would like to know more about it. But that's a matter that I've got to be really careful what I read, because there's some people with agendas writing histories of that, and it's got to be something pretty balanced. So but I don't know if I'm going to get around to it, because that's going to make me want to do some Spanish Civil War gaming. Probably would do naval, not necessarily interested in like the land stuff, but got to be careful what I read. I might end up starting wargaming, something that I've got enough on my plate right now, wargaming wise. Someone said war is like going to the movies. The best seats are at the back. Okay. War is truly boring for 99% of the time, but that 1% is something else. Been there. Well, thank you for your service. I'm sure you're on a good side, Ian, or a better side. Yeah, I never got to go into the military. They didn't want me, so I'm glad I didn't go. I wouldn't have worked out with the whole dig a hole. All right, now what? Fill it back up. And the next day, dig a hole where? Same spot now. Now, don't we have like people to take out, or missions to complete or something? This keeping me worn down so I don't cause trouble is not. I don't need that. I can behave all the time. I'll just be over here painting. Wouldn't have worked well with me. So. You like that, huh? He's sitting in the corner painting. Really, if you leave me alone, I'm good. You know, I'm good. I don't like being told what to do, because I don't feel like I need to be told what to do. You know, leave me alone. That's message to you politicians. Leave me alone. Went to D.C. I'm going to say 3 years ago. I may be off by a year. Let's see. It was for my daughter's. She was 10 or 11. She was 10. So, well, 4.5 years ago. And we wanted to go to the Washington Monument. And the guy says, we just need to wait in line. Well, do you have tickets? I said, well, how do you get those? Oh, you got to contact your congressman. I'm like, did you contact your congressman? I said, in a perfect world, I will never have to, I will never have to contact a congressman. I have no interaction with politicians or lawyers if I can avoid it. Just leave me alone. I'll be over here working, paying taxes and painting figures. And urging people to do the same. I am not an unruly subject. But yeah, I've got some things Eastern Front on my reading list. So I keep painting the stuff. I'm going to be reading it up again, and I'm willing to give the stuff that we thought we knew a second look. I want to get to the truth. I don't necessarily want to reinforce an agenda I already have. I don't have an agenda. So, oh, what I'm reading right now is I'm actually reading a memoir. I forgot because I'm reading so many different things at once. Called Blood Red Snow. It's a memoir by a heavy machine gunner that was German heavy machine gunner that was on the Russian front. I don't know that I'm digging it. It's kind of, the thing about memoirs is you only see whatever that person saw. So, if you wanted to read something about maybe Kursk and he wasn't there and was injured, then which is happened to be the case in his situation, then you only get to see that one little piece of the pie. But well, Tony was on a live video and he was talking about the Eastern Front and swastikas, and then he painted a guy blonde, so we know he's really a white supremacist. Okay, whatever. Please don't subscribe to my channel. Oh man, these times. I wish I could say they're going to change soon in a different direction, but I don't think that's the case. I think the internet gives everyone a voice that may not deserve one. And I don't mean that because people need to be silenced, but if you're going to cause trouble, then you need to shut the hell up. If you're going to cause all these problems for the rest of us, then you need to. I mean, man, this guy looks good. Sorry. Sometimes you impress yourself. You're like, man. And then I'll show it on camera. I'm like, because it just doesn't, I don't care if you're filming in 8K. It's still not as good as the human eye. It's the freaking amazing, the stuff that you can see through your own eyes. All right, let's see who I pissed off so far. You guys get me. I haven't caused any problems. My dad's family left Russia during their civil war. That was a good move, by the way. Understand where you're coming from. Having yet visited the USSR, having having visited the USSR, my view changed. My dad's family left Russia during their civil war. Yeah, having visited the USSR, my view changed. I don't know what that means. You don't view them as bad, as bad as your dad did, maybe. May you live in interesting times is a Chinese curse. Yeah. Isn't everything a Chinese curse? And nothing against Chinese people, just their government. Nothing against Chinese. You guys, I love freaking Chinese armies and Chinese stuff, and but I hate totalitarian crap, especially in this day and age. Come on, people know better by now. Yeah, I don't know what you mean about the USSR. I know that when they opened up Cuba, I'm never going to go. I refuse to go. And the way I look at it is that my dad left in 1960, best movie ever did. But he's a history guy, so he could kind of see how things were going. It was, and it wasn't like he loved the people that were in power before because there was injustices and stuff. But screwing everyone isn't the solution. But anyhow, so he had to leave everything he had, and he wasn't a rich person. He was, I like to say, he's kind of like we are, middle class or whatever. And just basically with the clothes that he had on him and start over. And so, why would I volunteer to go to a place that took that from him and at any moment could say, you can't leave? Like, why would you volunteer to do that? I, I'm not going to, just on principle. I'm not going to go there. So, besides, really, my ancestors came over from both sides of the family around the say the 1890s. So before that, we go to Spain. So why don't I just go to Spain instead if I want to, well, now you can't go to any of those places because, 2020 problems, but you know, you get my point. I'm not going to volunteer to go in. I think it would be dishonorable and disrespectful to his memory to do something like that. So, but that's my opinion. If other people want to go, they can go. You know, so we have, and my wife feels the same way too. So we um, we ain't going. We ain't gonna go. I was impressed with the hospitality of the average Russian I met. They were not what I expected. Yeah, they got screwed too. You know, they definitely got screwed. Talking about not being able to go to other countries. Not that big a deal. I would much rather be able to communicate with people from other countries through this type of a venue than go back to an age where you could pretty much go wherever you wanted to, but you couldn't communicate with people. You had to use an actual phone. So I think this is better, even though it's restrictive. You know, I don't have that much time off, anyways, to travel. So we fortunately have access to many other things. I would love to go to freaking Europe and all those places, but I never have. I haven't gotten around to doing it. And it was starting to get to this area where we were probably going to be able to do that. But it's all right. It's okay. Hey, we get the game every week. Hopefully, we don't have to do one of those. Oh, well, everybody needs to be in their home by a certain time, and you know, you can't film a video because it'll be proof that you were out after hours and that kind of stuff. I hope we don't get to that. You know, I hope we don't have to join the Wolverines. You know what I'm saying? I'm a bit old for that. I'm not going to Russia. I suspect I'd have an intimate, unwanted conversation with the FSB. Foreign, I suspect that's maybe their new KGB. I suspect that Russia may have KGB. Okay. I suspect that Russia may have a problem, a leftover problem from years of communism. And that leftover problem is one that I've experienced with another group of people that have come recently from another communist country that's very nearby. And that problem is that things just aren't available in the common market as we're used to. So you've got to bend the rules and run a bunch of clandestine type stuff and see what you can get away with. It's the see what you can get away with mentality. And that mentality is very prevalent in many places in Central America. And I am I am very averse to operating with that mindset. I don't want to see what I don't mind operating by the rules. As long as a rule, I'm used to there being, reasonable rules, and we all obey by them so that we have a functioning society. But if you have a large population of the people that just do whatever the hell they want, or see what they can get away with, or, to use an example, let's say you have to, if you're only, let's say you have a trucking business and you're only allowed to drive a certain amount of hours because it's safe, and you're like, well, let me run two log books and drive twice as much to try to get. When you have a bunch of people, you go to a place where lots of people are operating under that kind of mindset. I want out. The last time I went to Mexico, I could have had a bad experience, and I can speak Spanish fluently, so I can talk my way out of everything. But this whole idea that, you give one guy you pay the cop directly, and I don't want to have anything to do with those countries anymore. I just don't. It was, I want to go to a place that, has rules and they get followed and stuff like that. So I have a feeling that is the case in Russia as well, just because the people have been oppressed for so long and they've got to eat, and they don't have a choice. But I do have a choice, and I don't have to, you know, run around like a criminal all the time. So I don't know. Hopefully, I didn't offend anybody, but that's what I'm saying is, you take one vacation a year. That's a big one. I don't want to go to some place that's war torn, or that I got to wash my back, or my family's safety can be in in question. So Federal Security Bureau. Okay, SARS Russia had pretty invasive secret police form too. Okay, so I don't want to go to any of those. I don't want to travel any of those places where or I don't have that type of where I have that type of an environment. So most places in Europe would probably be okay, but I have such limited vacation time. You just can't afford to have a vacation be a fail. I mean, if you go on vacation and you end up like, it ends up being non relaxing, and you spend a ton of, because you're going to spend a lot of money, you might as well just stay home, you know? All right. So I probably won't go to Russia, even though parts of it I'm sure are really beautiful. I love those. I like cold climate stuff because it's so foreign to me. It's like another planet. Norway. I think I'd really enjoy going to Norway. Well, we used to vacation a lot. We would take cruises every year, and who knows if that. I don't think that industry can survive. I think that's probably taken all the cruises that we ever did, and I think I got to about 10. So those folks that work in that industry, they're to use my favorite Scottish word, McFucked. They are. I don't think that's going to come back. So they're either going to put so many restrictions on it that some of us just don't aren't going to want to go on them again, or they're going to have to increase the cost so much that it just becomes not a good value. But that's a relaxing vacation. And I'd always lose weight on them because you do a lot of walking. And yeah, there's food everywhere, but you don't have to eat all the time. You end up eating smaller portions more frequently, which is better for you, and you end up walking a lot because the thing's massive. So I just realized this Joker's about done. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, we've talked about a lot of non-hobby stuff today. That's good. Good times. I don't mind talking to people. I just don't want to argue with anyone. It just gets to the point I don't need to convert anybody to my way of thinking. I certainly don't want to be converted to their way of thinking. And there's not enough of us getting along each other every day anymore. So I welcome positive interactions. Good stuff. Okay, you flew into Vladivostok Airport in USSR days. Flight attendants had heart attacks as I looked out the back. Flight attendants had heart attacks as I looked out at the backfire bombers parked along the runway approaches. They didn't like that you saw the backfire bombers. That's a beautiful aircraft. There's some aircraft that are really, really pretty. I love those Tu-95 Bears. It's a beautiful aircraft. They might ride like shit or something like that, but I mean, just from the outside, they're beautiful. I like backfire bombers. I like those any of those swing wing aircraft. Lots of them are really pretty. Those the B1s. B1s are gorgeous aircraft. Um, Meant to ask, what are the basing colors you use, both base and dry brush? So if I'm doing temperate zone stuff, like all these, okay, and that's what these guys will be on, because these are Hungarians as well. I use chocolate brown overall, the entire thing. Then I use this US Field Drab as the mid shade. And then the light shade is Iraqi sand, which looks like this, but I've used it so much that the Iraqi sand is. So I use these three, and it's enough difference that you get some contrast. And I think they turn out looking pretty good. Now, disregard this light because it might not come in accurate, but I've been really happy with those three colors. So, and that's if I'm doing, temperate. Obviously, if I'm doing desert, I'm doing different things. And I've got some African theme. It's got maybe more clay that I use this one. I'm looking at it on the camera, and it doesn't look on the camera exactly how it looks like here. It's probably because of this oversaturated light here from my viewing, but from my light here. I could rewatch vids, but you're here now. Absolutely. 873, 873, 819. Got it. What is that accurate? 870, let's see. 872, 873, and I don't know what the number of Iraqi sand is, but it's a common color. Not sure if the sand in Iraq is that color, but that's what it's called, Iraqi sand. Yep, oops, 72. Yep, you got it. So, yeah, and I got that, believe it or not, I believe I got that one as one of the mixes from the Flames of War side. I don't play Flames of War, but they've got a lot of really good resources. I think that they did something, well, when I did the desert one, they had their little swatches where they had like six, and they said, well, we use this color, this one, and this one to make it. And you could kind of see what the results were going to be using those three colors, so you didn't do it all and then realize you don't like how it looks, or maybe it contrasts with the miniature. So Flames of War has a lot of really good ideas for stuff like that. This one in particular is and I am going to base these vehicles. They're not going to be on a very big base, but I feel like the base helps tie them into the terrain that they're in, because they're going to have weathering. This is, for instance, for this type of vehicle. So some of this color that's in here is kicked up onto the vehicle. And, this is just a little matchbox vehicle here for modern Africa setting. So anyhow, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's see. I think this guy's done. Oh, I need to put maybe a little bit more white on some of these feathers so they pop a little bit. And then he's done, which means we get to entertain what we're going to do next. We'll bring that up, and then we'll bring... These guys kind of had a limited palette, and I kind of did that on purpose because I figured these guys weren't made of money. And, bright colors are expensive. So I'm going to make sure that I've got all the little, I'm not going to say they're belt buckles, but they're almost like little clasps that they all have them painted. Yeah. This guy does not. I didn't think I did that on the earlier guys. Almost like skipped it. Okay. And this guy here. And this guy here. And I just noticed on one of these figures I have a sleeve that's kind of scuffed up, so we're going to go fix that. We want to do that before we seal it and have a different issue. That's the sleeve right here. Yeah, I believe I used something like this. This looks about what the color was. Come on, come back to life. The necromancing painter. Come back to life. I probably squeezed this thing out about a month ago or something. So the fact that it has any life in it at all is amazing. Okay, so here is this group of the bowmen, the fast bowmen for the Hungarian army. Let's find a little to put them on, and let's see if we can grab these guys by the base and not scuff them up. And this one guy was obstinate about being stuck on this penny, so we had to use the tack on there. And there's two poses of each of the figures. And there's going to be two stands with three figures on them each. And the same pose will be on the two different stands. So if you take someone like, let's see, this guy's got this funny hat on, and this guy has a funny hat on. Those two guys will be on two different stands. So the same pose will be different. There's each stand will have three poses. They're all different, and you know, that way they're not exactly the same and fools your eye into thinking that they're a little bit less uniform than they are. So these are all Essex figures. All right. So we will wait for that to dry a little bit. Now, let me pull the army list for that one. Actually, I'm going to take a potty break. I'll be right back. We'll give you something. I'll leave these here for you guys to look at. Just have something. I'll be right back. Okay, that was an extended sequence of events. Okay, so we got about an hour left. 8 people, more people are here. Oh no, 5, sorry. Wrong one. I need to have my eyes checked. I really do, actually. My 45 plus vision is changing now, so no problem. I paint without contacts, so. Okay, so these guys are done. So what are we gonna do next? Well, a couple things. We said we wanted to go back and finish the little things on the Jeep Gas 67B by BP Cast. So we're going to do that, and because we need to wait for these guys to dry a little bit, and we'll spray them today, and maybe we'll do some basing tonight on them, on these Hungarian archers. But we've got these little saddlebags to do, and we're going to look at the army list, because this army, I'm going to have to dumb them down, or I should say make a lighter version of them when they fight some of their opponents, because they can be kind of powerful. One of their opponents I'm thinking about is the Turks, and I believe I need to make a couple stands of skirmishers, along with the war wagons, but like I said, we're going to leave the war wagons for last. Let's see. Because one of the matchups I'm going to play with these guys is against the Turks. I don't need to wait until the war wagons are done to fight the Turks, because I'm not going to fight the Turks with the war wagons. It's just too powerful. So yeah, they can have these archers instead of. Oh, interesting. These archers could have been Saloy also. Could be Saloy or fast bow or solid bow. I went with the fast bow. They can have Saloy instead of the war wagons as well. So it's 2 elements that are either German or Bohemian handgunners, which are skirmishers, or war wagons, or pikemen, which I already have a pikeman from another army, or the Bosnian archers. So I just need to make 2 more stands, so 4 figures that are German or Bohemian handgunners, and that would be my preference. If not, I could do 2 more little Bosnian archers, would be the same figures as these. So let's see what I've got figure-wise, because we're certainly not going to buy any more figures. We've got lots of things to choose from, and yeah. Oh man. P.S. If you want to be inspired for Naval War II, recommend Neptune's Inferno. Great read, World War II Pacific surface action. Shows how much humans still important in decoding outcomes of naval fighting. Let's be happy with these guys. Thanks, and check out that book. What are you doing for a camp? Surely you want a camp that is fitting for such a beautiful army. So, I got a few ideas. First of all, I could use one of the war wagons as a camp. I could do, when I use 2 war wagons, I don't have to have a camp. Because that's one of the rules, is if you have at least 2 war wagons, you don't even have to have one. I don't think I'm going to do a camp that's just a camp for these guys. So I'll either use a war wagon as the camp when I'm not using the war wagons, or probably not use one at all when I'm using both of them. So I never really gave much thought into that, actually. So a camp is kind of an afterthought for me, because I can just, and it's not that I don't like doing them, but I can get away with not doing one, I should say. So let me look through these figures and see if there's something that looks like, here's some more of these archers. So if I don't find any handgunners, I will probably go in that direction. There's crossbowmen. Nope. And I do have handgunners, but they're in my other box of medieval stuff. But they're going to be really similar to the ones that I have in my French Ordnance army, and I really don't want them to have that look. Not that they couldn't have, it's just not something I want to go in the direction of. don't see any here. I don't think they're anywhere else. I don't remember if I got some from Marty in that big grab bag that I did a couple of things. I could look in there and see if there's any in that pile. Let's see what's in here. These are the guys I cleared off my table. I'd rather not use these guys because I've already painted them. I don't want to paint 4 more of them. I mean, I would, but it's okay. There's crossbowmen here. I don't remember. I want to say I do have some handgun or somewhere else. It might be in like Marty's grab bag. So we're gonna go. Oh, here we go. Here's a guy. I got these from somewhere. These guys are perfect. This is a minifigs. See if we can get this to focus on here. Let's move this closer. All right, and this is perfect. I thought I had some. All right, so let's see if there's 4 in here. Here's the second one. And I'm fine with them all being the same pose. 3, 4. There we go. Problem solved. Old school minifigs. Well, not old school, because I think they made minifigs in strip minifigs as well. So, perfect. Paint some new figures. All right, let's get 4 pennies. Let me find my glasses so I can get these out. And get some super glue out, because that's how I roll. I don't want these guys popping off on me until I'm ready to comrade pop off. Until I'm ready for them to pop off. All right. All right. So I suspect these guys have lots of flash. Guy putting the wick in the touch hole. Not too bad. They've got the 2 halves of the mold where they meet together here. Kind of annoying. One of my least favorite things to do is cleaning flash off figures. I think that's a responsibility of the manufacturer. So just because you got shitty molds doesn't mean I need to fix them. Or old molds. I do like my minifig style of figures. I like the style that they're done in. Okay, we're gonna chop off all the ends there at the end. So, just cleaning these guys up. And this is what works for me hopping around and doing different things, because I can't do anything with those archers right now. So I'm working on this. When I glue these guys down, I can't paint them black, so I need to go and do something else. So that's where the Jeep comes in. Then with the Jeep, we'll come back and paint these guys black. Yeah, just mixing it up. Just keep moving. Keep it moving. And then we'll have a lot of stuff to seal, because we'll have these 3 vehicles to seal, plus the archers. You know, have to wait for that stuff to dry. Not going to put a flat coat on the vehicles just yet. Maybe I will. I'm not sure. We got to do some weathering and stuff on there. I got to figure out what I want to do about the decals, or just paint numbers on them. That works too. I'm sure I can paint them neat enough. Did we do the top of his head? Yeah, see, this guy doesn't have any of this. This guy had like a really heavy molding in between the two halves of his helmet. And this guy has hardly any at all. Makes me wonder if there's not better looking guys in here. Here's another one. You a troublemaker or not? No, this guy's got a better helmet. Sorry, dude. Bye-bye. What about these guys? That one's not too bad. That one's not. Okay, cool. Crap, I cleaned the flash off of a figure I'm not going to use. How wasteful of my time. All right. And these guys look like they've got... Well, it looks like they've got armored kneecaps, but then they're wearing hose underneath that. So that's how we're going to paint them. These guys are very Hussite looking. In fact, they may be Hussite handgunners, which is fine because when the Hussites kind of got done doing their thing, they had a lot of mercenaries, and this army had a lot of mercenaries in it, so that would be appropriate. And this guy has hardly any flash at all. Okay. So this army will be able to play in our Wimp Wars because it'll be 3 stands of Saloy, or skirmishers, and 3 stands of light horse. So that's probably how I'm going to have them fight the Turks. You keep them dumbed down as much as possible. If you want to even fight, they're more fun to watch. All right, I think that's good enough for now. Now, let me see if I still have an old pair of fingernail clippers that I use specifically for taking off, here it is, these big chunks. I don't know if I can get all the way down, but I can get a good bit of it off. Maybe not that much. And I do have a file, but I don't want to get all these filings everywhere around here. So let's try this. That's a hell of a lot quicker. And the metal compound on this is old, probably from the 1980s, I would imagine. So it doesn't have a ton of, what is it? What's the hardening stuff? 10? Some of those are difficult to remove. Make sure we don't bend his legs. The angle it's sitting at, he should be all right. Want to make sure they can stand up on their own before I glue them on the stand so that I don't have issues later on. Love these old school figures. They don't get any love. There's nobody out there painting them. I just happen to have them, and I like them. So it's not like, well, this is what I got, it's what I got to use. No, if I got the wrong figures, I'll go buy them. But these old school figures paint up great. So the other soloist stand, the other skirmisher stand, is crossbow armed, and it's these guys. And these guys are Essex castings. So these two guys would be handgunners, like the book says. They could be anything, but if I could paint them that correlates with what the book says, hey, even better, you know? All the better. Right. Just a little dab. Just something to hold it in place. Make sure everybody's standing on their own. No public drunkenness. Aha! Thought you were going to get away. I don't like cleaning flash. But you got to do it sometimes. Okay. Have a sip of water. Now these guys got to dry. Okay, so they go over here to dry man's corner. Okay, get these distractions off the screen here. Figures. I vacuumed in here yesterday and now we're making a mess again. Not really. Okay. Nothing new. All right, cool. How far are we in here? Almost 3 hours. Hey, who's counting, right? Let's put this off to the side and let's work on these little packs on here. Now, I've got small ones here up front that I would want to use. Oh, there's even a jerry can on the back. Perfect. We're going to use this color here for one of them, for those little packs at the front. Coat d'Arms, my favorite paint out there. Penny for your thoughts on temporary basing while painting. There you go. And when we do 20s, they permanently stay on a penny. This is their stand. So, and just have a little magnet on the bottom that Litco makes. Of course, this is painted 20 years ago, so the basing sucks quality-wise. But we'll next time I got to do some basing, we're gonna goop up those Brits and bring them up to 21st century standards. See what they look like. All right. And I don't know what army I'm going to do after the Hungarians. The jury's still out. I don't have to make my decision yet. But I know I've talked about this before, about making a fancy army and a non-fancy army. I would call the Hungarians a fancy army. In other words, they have heraldry and that kind of stuff, flags. And so it is likely that my next army will not be as fancy. Kind of like my Irish. I would call my Irish not fancy. Doesn't mean I don't like them. I love those guys. But, hey, and I got them done in time for St. Patrick's Day. So, they'll be celebrating. But the next army probably will be a non-fancy army. So just to kind of mix it up. And I'm not going to buy figures for them. So I have the option of painting a couple of extra elements and having allies for the Hungarians, later Poles, Moldavians, Wallachians. That's an option. You know, all I got to do is paint a couple of elements of those, and I can have add-ons. I got Wallachians I could paint as well. Although they're kind of borderline fancy, so I may not do them next. My pre-feudal Scots, those kind of excited to do them. I got a flag I've already thought about using for them, and then they fit well into the Mitch getting his Normans thing. So they're definitely a candidate. We'll see. We will see what we'll do next. But I think this doing World War II stuff and the ancient medieval at the same time is working out for me, because I was itching to do World War II stuff, but then feeling bad about not finishing the medieval stuff. So why don't I do both? So I'm painting this while I can't paint the other one because of the whatever stage it's in of drying and stuff. So, you know, doing double duty here. It's working out well for me. Or it's worked out this week well for me. We'll see if we can keep it going. Pretty much convinced myself I will not be buying an airbrush, though. So, not worth the headache. Okay. Just some... Come on, focus. We'll pack there to add some detail and not let this thing look so crappy. All right, so what else would be possibly the same color? We've got a couple of sacks over here. I think the sacks, we're all going to do that sack color that we used yesterday, which now I don't remember which one it is. I want to say it was the leather. Let's go ahead and do that. Put this away. We got a never-ending supply of vehicles, but I think I'm going to do all the Russian vehicles I have first. Just keep that going. There's no doubt about what colors I want to use on it, so that frees my mind for, you know, other stuff. Leather brown. Where is this? Is a chocolate. This one is the leather brown. I believe it was leather brown was the base that did it. It doesn't have to be exactly. I'm not trying to color match something. Now, I don't think I'd want to do figures in this scale and figures in the other scale at the same time. I think that the fact that I'm doing vehicles makes it kind of interesting. I'm doing something, I'm doing dry brushing stuff that I'm not doing with the figures, so it kind of mixes up what I'm actually doing and makes it a little bit more liberating. All right, right. You find us a spot where nothing's happening. All right, let's get magic juices here. The best discovery of 2020, the magic juices. So we're going to paint this bedroll looking thing in this color. Trying to make this thing look a little bit better because this thing is pretty primitive. If you're a fan of BP cast, that's fine. These are just fine. I already had them. If I had to buy it, if I did not own one of these vehicles and I had to have one, I would not choose a BP cast model. There's better stuff out there. But these are wargaming models, not something I'm going to enter in an IPMS contest. So As a matter of fact, I was looking at a couple of websites that do like modeling and stuff like that, and some of their stuff doesn't look that good. I mean, it has zero weathering on it, like zero, and zero forced contrast, forced shadows. Not my style of thing. So, all right, let's start adding some white to the because I think that's what I did on this. Yeah, because they're kind of little gray and faded and stuff like that. So. Ah, missed one back there. Son of a biscuit. No, we'll get to him. You will not escape. Let's go let's go back and take care of that now. Why did you put the lid? Oh, here it is. And we're planning on weathering the tires. It's just going to be a little later. Good chatting to you too, Harvey. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hopefully you don't have to work on it. Unless you enjoy working. But I'm going to assume that you do not. So in about half an hour, we're going to stop. We're going to get ourselves ready to go out for breakfast. So, which is technically my second breakfast. I've been up since 5. I'm certainly not waiting until 9:30, 10 o'clock to eat. I've started saying second or third breakfast. I didn't realize that was a Lord of the Rings thing. I've only seen those movies once. Like I said, I don't rewatch movies. If you guys missed the movie portion of the discussion today, well then you have to go back and see it. But we did enough movie talking today for sure. Mhm. And let's lighten this up even a little more. And we will not be having an English breakfast. page, it's always the picture is always circulating on the internet. You have this big plate of food. I'm like, what's the one item you could live without? Like, man, there's like four things on there I could live without. Oh man. Well, you're a product of your environment. You probably enjoy that stuff if you're used to having it. Trying to add details where there aren't any. It's strange to say the least. Okay, and the one on the back here. All right, now, one thing I wanted to do is, let's see if we still have that yellow that's alive over here. This is that ochre color. We're going to come in here with the green and grab some of this ochre, lightening this up quite a bit, like this. And then we're going to put, we don't want that blob of water there. We're going to put this color here. Run that edging there to help differentiate the side of the vehicle. Okay, and let's actually take a little bit more. And we'll do the same thing over here. Make that pop a little bit. All right, there's something crumpled back here in the corner, and it's not a body. It is some kind of sack or something back here. Man. Got a jerry can back there. It's a Russian one, so wouldn't it be a commie can or a Rusky can? Got a different type of backpack there. Let's use this color here. Anything else you want to do in the same color as this? Well, we could do this this pack back here, be all right. And oh, it's this one. It's this one on the outside. That's the one. Well, we could do that other one as well. Oh, it's over here too. All right, we're going to leave this stuff here and that one in a different color. Okay. All right, and okay, and okay. Let's take some of this and lighten this up. Cricketer French. Didn't even know you were here. Have a good day, man. Thanks for coming by. The cricketer. Pulled up the stuff out of the vault here for my 20mm figures, and I came across my French partisans. I've got about 3 squads of them, all individual figures. So if I ever go paint figures in the 20 mils, that's what they're going to be. I'll be painting up the partisans. left to do on here. All right, and what do we got left? We got a jerry can. Well, it's probably the same color as the Russian green, but that doesn't mean I have to paint it that color. So let's grab our Russian green. Little bolts that go around it are certainly going to be in that. And let's darken this up. We'll go darker than that. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we got that color there. Let's go ahead and add white to it now. Let's brighten it up. All right, now let's take it and add a little bit more white to it. Okay, then we're going to take these little clamps that go around it. And let's get back to the regular Russian green with the ochre. And we're going to go around that. And we're going to do it again with even more ochre. There we go. So instead of just being that standard green, it's off a little bit. Let's give it a little bit of contrast. And we've got this ochre mix up here. Let's go ahead and hit some of these highlights on here, on this vehicle. Okay, let's do the front. Is there any more of this ochre left here? Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm about done with this guy. And obviously we're going to do some weathering afterwards, so this isn't all of the detailing that we'll do on here. There you go. We got this guy, we got this guy, and we got this guy. And we will spray these guys today and do some other weathering on there. So anyhow, it is 9:20, and we're going to call this one a wrap. Almost 3.5 hours in. So thanks for joining me. If hopefully you guys continue doing some painting the rest of the day. Happy Sunday to you, and we'll catch you guys maybe a little bit later today. If not, not tomorrow for sure, because tomorrow is game night. So anyhow, okay, folks, be safe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye-bye.